To be honest, there is something inside you that keeps scratching at the door, and you keep sliding the bolt because you are trying to be good, to be reliable, to be easy to love. It has many faces. The anger you swallow until your throat burns, the grief that rises at night and then sinks back under your smile in the morning. The need you learn to hide because need once cost you closeness. You call it stress or mood or being tired. I call it the monster you keep locking inside so the world will not see what you have carried for years. You move through the day like someone guarding a secret. You choose words that will not start fires. You promise yes when your whole body leans toward no. You keep the peace in rooms where your truth does not fit. On the outside, you look composed. On the inside, you hold your breath so nothing spills. There is a cost for this kind of control. The laugh that used to live in you now sounds practiced. The food fills you and you still feel empty. The bed is warm and you still feel alone. You learn how to function without feeling fully alive. No one taught you how to hold what hurts, only how to hide it. So you built small routines for survival. Work harder, say less, stay grateful. Do not make it a big deal. You told yourself that adulthood means being reasonable, that sensitivity is a weakness, that wanting more is dangerous. You kept the door closed because opening it once brought chaos you could not manage. This choice was intelligent when you had fewer options. It kept you safe then. It starves you now. I am not speaking from a clean distance. I know the weight of a life lived by containment. I know the careful smile, the calendar full of duties, the private moments when the mask slips and the chest aches without a name. I know how easily a person can confuse silence with strength. I know the kind of fatigue that does not vanish with sleep. It is the fatigue of self-abandonment repeated so often it becomes normal. You have tried to fix it without touching it. You set goals. You improved habits. You read entire shelves of wise words. You mastered the tone that keeps conversation smooth. You learned to be grateful for small comforts and pretend that they are enough. For a short while, the pressure eases, like loosening a belt after a tight meal. Then the feeling returns, the same old heaviness at the base of the throat, the same emptiness after a day of doing everything right. This is not failure. This is evidence that the thing you keep locked away wants a real meeting, not another coat of paint. The monster is not a villain. It is the pile of parts you exiled to survive. The moments you needed comfort and settled for competence. The times you needed to say stop and chose to smile. The memories your mind keeps tidy while your body keeps the record. You learn to fear these forces because they threaten belonging. Now they knock because they hold your missing strength. They are loud because being ignored for so long turned them raw. You sense this truth in quiet places. In the car after a visit that drained you. In the hallway outside a room where you were kind and also invisible. In the mirror at night when your face looks like someone who works hard at not causing trouble. You hear a voice you keep pushing down. Enough. It is not dramatic. It is simple. It asks for honesty. It asks for a life where you do not have to lock yourself away to be loved. The body joins the message. The jaw tenses when you agree to things you do not want. The stomach drops when you cross your own boundary. The breath goes shallow when the old role tightens around you. These are not random malfunctions. They are signals that point to the door you keep closing. Each signal says the same sentence. You leave yourself and the cost is your aliveness. This might sound harsh, but the peace you protect by staying small is not peace. It is quiet purchased with self-silence. It keeps the room calm and your inner world in a storm. You are not weak for making that trade. You were taught it was the only way to keep love. You are allowed to learn a different way now. I am here to sit with you at the threshold, not to push you, not to offer shiny promises, to say in plain words that what you fear in yourself is not here to ruin you. It is here to finish a conversation that began years ago. The parts you locked away do not want to burn your life down. They want a seat at the table so you can stop living as a performance and start living as a person. You do not have to open everything at once. You do not have to speak truths into rooms that cannot hold them. You do not have to fix a lifetime in a single month. You do have to stop pretending you feel nothing. You do have to admit that the door exists. You do have to tell yourself the truth that you already know. This is not working. I am tired of hiding. I am ready to meet what I have been avoiding. By the end of this video, you will understand why your pain is a gift that points toward the door, why the monster you keep locking inside is not your enemy, and why the strength you miss is waiting on the other side. To be honest, the methods you trusted were built to keep you functional, not free. Positive thinking taught you to cover a cracked wall with fresh paint. The color looked bright. The structure stayed weak. You repeated hopeful lines while your breath stayed shallow and your shoulders climbed toward your ears. The mind performed optimism. The body kept the file of every time truth was punished. The result felt like progress for a week, and then the old gravity returned. You concluded that you failed. The method failed you. Books handed you language and patterns. Language felt like movement. You closed the book and nothing in the room had changed. Reading became a velvet form of avoidance, a private ritual that comforts without contact. The nervous system does not update from inside alone. It updates when you meet a moment that used to silence you, tell one true sentence, and survive. Until that happens, the body treats new ideas like decoration and returns you to the old contract. Therapy helped because being heard is medicine. Then the hour began to orbit the same safe islands. You became eloquent about your pain without entering the room where the floorboards creak. Stability became the metric. Fewer crises, better coping. Coping matters and also becomes a ceiling. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words because safety is the container they must protect. Deep work can rattle the identity that kept you alive. The behaviors you hate also held your structure together. If you remove them without replacing them with contact and care, the system can drop. So the frame teaches symptom management and calls it healing. It is not dishonesty, it is a limit. You were told that mindfulness would solve it. Mindfulness is powerful when used to meet what is real. It becomes a sedative when used to tolerate what should be confronted. You breathe through boundary violations. You relaxed into patterns that drain you. Calm without truth becomes a beautiful cage. You were told to forgive quickly. Forgiveness without grief and anger is a polished form of self-abandonment. You stamped cleared on behavior that still hurts and called it maturity. The body kept the invoice and charged interest at night. You optimized. Morning routines, trackers, supplements, better inputs, tighter scheduling. Optimization promised that enough control would quiet the unease. The optimization became the new altar. The fear loved it because as long as you were improving the surface, you did not have to open the old door. Productivity felt like purpose. It was often a clever way to avoid feeling. You tried spiritual bypass. You called what hurts an illusion and reached for transcendence to erase the human mess. You climbed toward light and left your shadow in the basement. The shadow did not dissolve. It ran your life from below. Here's the hidden mechanism that keeps sabotaging you. Your system wrote a survival map when you were small. On that map, truth equals danger, need equals rejection, anger equals loss, joy equals punishment, difference equals exile. The map does not update because you read a sentence. It updates when the body has a new experience and survives it. Until then, anything that threatens the map is labeled unsafe, and you will unconsciously sabotage movement. You will miss the session you needed. You will choose a partner who cannot meet you. You will say yes when your ribs say no. You will go numb at the exact moment a feeling would set you free. This is not laziness. This is loyalty to an older contract. There is another layer. Roles inside families buy belonging. The responsible one who carries more than their share. The gentle one who never raises a voice. The successful one who proves nothing bad happened. The funny one who keeps the room from feeling. These roles stabilize the system and earn love points. Healing threatens these contracts. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Change has a social cost. When you set a boundary, the system that benefited from your softness will call you selfish. When you stop rescuing, the person who relied on your rescuing will call you cruel. When you tell the truth, those who preferred your silence will call you unstable. The pushback you receive is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that the contract is breaking. The culture around healing sells comfort because comfort sells. The deeper truth is not marketable. Real change often looks like grief, conflict, messy conversations, and seasons of not knowing. Real change sometimes means losing the version of you that made you easy to love. Real change sometimes means losing connections that only worked when you were small. This might sound harsh, but part of you is invested in staying the same. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because sameness protects you from losses you fear you cannot survive. The ego prefers a familiar prison to an unfamiliar freedom. The mind calls the prison reasonable. The body calls it safe. The price is aliveness. Even your inner critic plays a role that looks like help. It believes that punishment will keep you acceptable. It scolds to prevent humiliation. You mistake its harshness for discipline and hope that enough self-attack will mold you into someone worthy. The critic is a guard at the door of the old map. It is not wisdom, it is an alarm. Not everyone is ready to hear this. The industry that sells quick relief would lose profit if honesty led. The families that rely on your quiet would lose balance if you change shape. The workplaces that thrive on your compliance would lose efficiency if you chose truth. You are not failing when the world resists your movement. You are meeting the cost of leaving old economies of approval. You did everything that the script told you to do. You improved the surface, you learned the concepts, you stayed grateful and productive. The system misled you by treating your pain as a malfunction to mute, by promising relief without confrontation, by framing healing as a path that never disturbs the life that is hurting you. Pain is not a software bug. Pain is the message that the code requires rewriting. The sabotage is not an enemy within. It is a loyal body enforcing an outdated safety rule. When you approach truth, alarms rise. Tight chest, dry mouth, heavy limbs, racing thoughts. You interpret this as evidence that you should turn back. In reality, it signals proximity to an old threshold. Without this understanding, every near breakthrough becomes another retreat and another story about personal failure. The story is wrong. The mechanism is simple. Visibility once equaled danger. So the system hides you. Hold this with compassionate honesty. You are not broken. You are patterned. Patterns can be updated with contact and care. The illusions you were sold are comfortable because they let you avoid the room with the locked door. They are not evil. They are insufficient. If this lands as relief and as fear, you are standing near the truth. You can see why your efforts carried you to the edge and no further. You can feel the structure that keeps pulling you back. There is something even scarier than the monster you keep locking away, and we will get to that. If this feels like it's about you, subscribe to the channel. The algorithm will show this to others ready to face their shadow. To be honest, the monster is not a thing to be slain. It is a collection of living parts that learned hard lessons and went underground to keep you safe. Depth psychology calls this the unconscious. Think of it as a quiet manager that set rules long ago and still enforces them today. It is not evil. It is loyal to survival. It remembers what brought pain, what bought love, what kept the family stable, and it keeps you inside those lines even when the old context is gone. Jung used the word shadow for the traits and needs you had to hide to remain acceptable. Anger that would have cost you closeness. Need that would have been mocked. Ambition that would have triggered envy. Tenderness that would have been used against you. You pushed them down so you could belong. They did not vanish. They became the monster at the door. The shadow operates through pressure, not permission. It leaks through sarcasm when you promise to stay polite. It chooses silence when you promised honesty. It drives binge work or binge numbing because it refuses to remain buried. It does not sabotage because you are bad. It demands a seat at the table because exiled life wants to return. Complexes are clusters of memory and meaning that carry charge. Imagine a sensitive switch inside the nervous system. A short text delay and the worthlessness complex flips the whole board to red. A change plan and the control complex floods your chest with heat. In those moments, you are not only reacting to the present, you are standing in an old emotional field that formed around repeated experiences. The magnitude belongs to the past. The present event is only the spark that lit the stored fuel. Freud named defenses, and the words can sound clinical, so keep them simple. Repression keeps memories and feelings out of awareness because they feel too heavy. Rationalization builds neat stories to avoid messy truth. Projection hangs disowned feelings on other people so the self can stay clean. Intellectualization climbs into analysis to avoid contact with the body. Dissociation dims sensation when the volume threatens to overwhelm. None of this is proof of moral failure. These moves were intelligent at the time they formed. They become a problem when they run the show while you call it freedom. Transference means you treat someone in your present as though they were a figure from your past. The boss takes on the emotional weight of a parent, and you become the careful child who overperforms, or the rebel who cannot bear authority. A partner's cool tone echoes an old absence, and you begin the same choreography of pleading and placating. Most psychologists will not tell you this in blunt language because it sounds unkind. The repetition is the psyche trying to finish an unfinished conversation. You repeat until you repair. Persona is the mask you built to keep your place in the tribe. The reliable one who never needs help. The caretaker who anticipates needs before they are spoken. The achiever who proves the family story is fine. The agreeable one who smooths conflict with a smile. Masks stabilize rooms and earn praise. Over time, they starve the person behind them. The more you identify with the mask, the more your days feel like performance, and the more the monster rattles the door. The body stores what the mind cannot hold. Trauma is not only a memory, it is a pattern in breath, muscle tone, posture, and reflex. Fight tightens the jaw and narrows the eyes. Flight races the thoughts and legs. Freeze wraps you in stillness and fog. Fawn softens your voice and bends your boundaries. These responses were brilliant in the old environment because they bought survival. The trouble comes when the body fires the old response in a new context. A raised voice in a meeting and your throat closes. A harmless disagreement at home and your limbs go heavy. Without body awareness, you call this evidence that you are broken. With awareness, you recognize an alarm that can be respected and updated. Archetypes are shared human patterns that can possess a life when they go unchecked. The hero works without rest and calls depletion virtue. The caretaker gives beyond capacity and calls resentment love. The lover chases intensity to outrun emptiness and calls exhaustion passion. The martyr turns pain into identity and calls stuckness meaning. Seeing these patterns does not shame the self. It gives distance. You are not the pattern. You are the person who can relate to the pattern and choose. Family scripts act like invisible contracts. Love equals usefulness. Safety equals silence. Worth equals achievement. Belonging equals sameness. Break the rule and you risk exile, so the child learns to shrink or shine in the shape the system rewards. Here is what they do not tell their patients. These contracts do not evaporate when you leave the house. They embed in the nervous system and the social circle you build as an adult. Healing threatens the economy of approval, so pushback arrives. The pushback is not proof that your movement is wrong. It is a sign that the old contract is losing power. Here is a simple map that clarifies the confusion. Unprocessed pain becomes a complex. The complex feeds the shadow. The shadow pressures the persona. The persona keeps the peace while the body carries the strain. A small trigger flips the switch and the whole system runs the old program. If you only chase symptoms, the system invents new exits. If you meet the root with care, the system quiets. Paradox sits at the center of this work. The more you fight a feeling, the more it organizes your life. The more you turn toward it with support, the less it needs to shout. Anger denied becomes sarcasm or compliance. Anger owned becomes a clean boundary that protects connection. Grief denied becomes numbness or irritability. Grief felt becomes ground for tenderness and clear seeing. Shame denied becomes secrecy and self-sabotage. Shame welcomed into warm light becomes humility and alignment. Most psychologists will not tell you how slow and physical this is, because slowness does not sell. Insight is valuable and also insufficient. The nervous system updates through lived micro-experiences. A truth spoken in a room that once required silence. A boundary set where you once abandoned yourself. A need named and met without catastrophe. Each small act tells the body that the world is different now. Over time, the old map redraws itself. This might sound harsh, but comfort first has been running your life. Safety matters, and yet safety without contact becomes a padded cell. Contact with what is real and doses you can bear is what rebuilds trust in yourself. Not everyone is ready to hear this. The mind loves the fantasy of a clean breakthrough that never disturbs the structure of daily life. The body tells a truer story. You will shake, you will sweat, you will grieve. Then you will feel a new steadiness that does not depend on performance. Here is what I learned the hard way. The monster softens when you stop guarding the door and start negotiating a relationship. You listen to what it protects. You thank it for the times it saved you. You set terms so it no longer runs the entire house. You bring anger to the table as a sentinel, not a weapon. You bring grief as a river, not a swamp. You bring shame into light where it can inform values instead of enforcing secrecy. You let the body lead the pace so the work does not become another form of violence against yourself. The culture sells extremes: slay the monster and ascend to a shining self, or surrender to the monster and call chaos authenticity. Both miss the point. Integration is the sober middle. The monster is not a dragon to kill or a god to worship. It is a set of exiled functions that belong with you. When they return, power changes shape. Power stops being control and becomes presence. Control tries to arrange the world so feeling is never required. Presence allows feeling and remains intact. And here comes the most painful truth. The monster you keep locking inside is not your enemy. It is the part of you that refused to die when love demanded your disappearance. To be honest, this is the turn that changes everything. The monster you have been locking away is the same force that carries your missing strength. You tried to make it smaller than you so you could keep the room calm. You tried to starve it with positivity, drown it with busyness, freeze it with silence. It did not die because it holds functions you still need. Anger that knows how to draw a clean line. Grief that knows how to soften rigid places. Desire that knows where life wants to move next. Shame that knows when you step outside your own values and ask for repair. The parts you feared would ruin your life are the parts that can help you live it. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words because it complicates the promise of a smooth path. The qualities you exiled will not disappear. They will either run you from the basement or sit with you at the table. The choice is not between light and dark. The choice is between secrecy and relationship. Secrecy breeds compulsion. Relationship brings these forces back into your hands where they can be named, directed, and contained. This might sound harsh, but safety purchased with self-erasure is not safety. It is a suspension of self that eventually becomes illness of spirit and body. The jaw that never unclenches, the breath that never drops low, the eyes that scan for approval the way a ship scans for shore. You called that maturity because it kept the peace. It was survival. It is now a tax you cannot keep paying if you want a life you can actually inhabit. The turn begins with a reframe that is not poetic. Anger is not a storm to be hidden. Anger is voltage that powers a boundary. A boundary is not a wall. A boundary is the shape that makes closeness possible without self-betrayal. When anger is owned rather than denied, it stops leaking as sarcasm or compliance. It becomes a sentence spoken in an even voice. I will not accept that. My time matters. I will continue this conversation when respect is present. The room may not applaud. Your body will know the difference. Grief is not a swamp that proves you are broken. Grief is the body finishing what history could not finish. It releases the claim that the past can be different. It makes space where new attachment can breathe. Without grief, love hardens into fear of loss and you cling. With grief, love becomes contact with what is real and you hold without strangling. You do not need grand ceremonies. You need honest contact with what was lost or never given and a body that is allowed to respond. Shame is not a verdict on your worth. Shame is a signal that you stepped outside your own alignment. In secrecy, it becomes a prison. In warm light, it becomes precision. The sentence changes from I am wrong to I went wrong there, and I can repair. That shift removes the need for self-punishment and replaces it with accountability that restores dignity. Desire is not a childish demand. Desire is a compass. You learn to hide it because it threatened roles that bought you belonging. When desire returns to the table, it does not demand that you burn your life down. It asks you to include your aliveness in the calculation. It asks you to stop building a life that looks good on paper while starving the person who has to live it. Power changes shape here. Control tries to organize the outside world so you never have to feel what you fear. It is rigid, anxious, and exhausting. Presence allows feeling, includes truth, and remains intact. Presence breathes during conflict. Presence says a hard sentence without theater. Presence notices the old alarm rise and chooses a new move anyway. That is the sovereignty you wanted when you chased perfect plans. It does not come from perfection. It comes from contact. Not everyone is ready to hear this. Integration looks messy before it looks clean. It will disturb roles that kept certain rooms comfortable. The caretaker who always says yes will begin to say no. The hero who overworks to buy love will leave work at a human hour. The peacemaker who swallows truth will name what actually happens. Pushback arrives from inside and from around you. Inside, the old critic calls you selfish because you stopped abandoning yourself. Outside, people who profited from your silence will call you unstable because you tell the truth. This is not evidence that you are on the wrong path. This is evidence that the old contract is ending. You can expect your body to protest during this turn. Heat in the face, tension in the ribs, static in the mind. These are signs that the system is crossing an old threshold. The task is not to force the body into obedience. The task is to accompany it. Feel the ground under your feet, lengthen the exhale, speak one true sentence and tolerate the wave that follows. This is not performance. This is training. Each repetition tells the organism that the world is different now and that you are allowed to remain visible. The monster becomes an ally through terms and roles. Anger moves from saboteur to sentinel. It stands at the doorway of your time and attention and says yes or no with clarity. Grief moves from undertow to river. It flows when it needs to flow, and then it rests. Shame moves from jailer to compass. It points, and you correct course without cruelty. Desire moves from hidden driver to declared direction. You consider it alongside reality and values, and you walk in a way that includes you. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Integration is less dramatic than you fear and more demanding than you wish. It is not a single revelation. It is a series of honest moves carried by a steady vow. I will not abandon myself to be loved. I will not perform agreement to avoid tension. I will not punish my own pain for speaking. This vow is not about defiance. It is about fidelity to a life that includes the whole person who lives it. Relationships change here, And that is the point. Some become truer because truth is now in the room. Boundaries protect warmth rather than block it. Conversations grow teeth and also tenderness. Other relationships loosen because they were built on your disappearance. Loss follows and grief follows loss. Then relief arrives because you no longer have to stage your life to keep what cannot hold you. Work changes here. You stop trading your nervous system for approval. You still deliver. You also refuse the quiet exploitation of your capacity. You measure success not only in outcomes, but in whether your integrity remained intact. You leave meetings having told the truth at a volume you can live with. Your body learns that visibility does not equal danger. That lesson frees a surplus of energy you used to spend on hiding. Identity changes here. The mask becomes one tool among many rather than your whole face. You can be reliable without erasing need. You can be competent without strangling tenderness. You can be strong without making your heart a vault. The person who returns is less theatrical and more grounded, less eager to convince and more willing to stand. And here comes the most painful truth stated without decoration. The part you called a monster is the part that refused to disappear so you could remain acceptable. It preserved your heat, your depth, your direction. It made noise because that was the only language left to it. When you bring it home and set terms, you do not become someone else. You become the person you were before the performance began. From here, the work shifts from realization to practice. Small, steady moves. Body first. Truth next. Repair when needed. No performance. No self-cruelty. In the next part, we will make this concrete so your nervous system can learn the new path by walking it. To be honest, practice is where the monster becomes a partner. Insight opens the door. Repetition walks you through. Keep the order simple. Body first, truth next. Repair when needed. No performance, no self-cruelty. Begin with contact. Place a hand where your breath is shallow and wait until warmth spreads beneath your palm. Name what is happening in plain words. Tight chest, heat in the face, hollow belly. Naming brings the experience into the present where choice exists. Look around and land your eyes on a few steady objects in the room. A wall, a chair, a window frame. Let your breath lengthen by a small degree. Small is enough. Use titration so you do not drown. Touch the hard feeling for a short moment, then step back to a resource that steadies you. A song that calms your ribs. The weight of your body in a chair. The sight of a tree outside the window. Return to the feeling for another brief visit, then back to the resource. This back and forth is pendulation. Most psychologists will not tell you how unglamorous and effective this rhythm is. It looks simple. It rewires everything. Work directly with anger so it becomes a boundary rather than a blast. Press your feet into the floor until your legs feel present. Push your palms into a wall and exhale slowly. Under the heat, there is a sentence. My time matters. Speak that sentence once in an even tone. Then a second sentence if needed. I will continue when respect is present. Anger that is owned stops leaking as sarcasm or compliance. It becomes a clean line that protects connection. Let grief move without hurrying it into meaning. Sit in a private place, one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Bring to mind what was lost or never given. Allow tears or the absence of tears. Both are movement. When the wave settles, name what the grief honored. Love, time, innocence. Naming prevents you from turning away in shame. Tend to shame with warm light and precision. Write the secret you hide, for your eyes only. State what you did to survive. State what you regret without attacking yourself. Then share a smaller, safer slice with one person who has earned trust. Choose someone who keeps confidences and respects boundaries. The goal is not confession theater. The goal is to let shame meet steady eyes so it loses its power to rule you from underground. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Shame transforms in relationship, not in isolation. Meet numbness with gentle activation. Walk at a steady pace and feel each step land. Hum until vibration fills your throat and chest. Stretch slowly and notice the edges of sensation. Numbness is a shield that served you. Thank it for its work. Invite it to loosen when safety is present. It will loosen as trust in your leadership grows. Begin parts dialogue with the monster so it stops running the basement. On a page, let the fearful part write 3 short lines about what it protects. Then let the ready part write 3 short lines about what it longs for. Close is the adult who can hold both in lead. End with one vow in plain words. I will not abandon you. This vow matters more than a perfect plan. Update the inner critic by changing its job. When the harsh voice arrives, name it aloud. Guard at the door. Thank it for trying to prevent humiliation. Assign a new task. Scan for where I need rest. Scan for where I need support. The critic wants to serve. Give it a role that protects your life rather than shrinks it. Practice boundary scripts until your mouth knows them under pressure. Keep sentences short and steady. I care about you and I will not do that. I decide my pace. I am not available for this today. Speak once. If pushed, repeat once. End the exchange if respect does not return. You are not asking for permission. You are stating the new contract. Give desire a seat at the table. Each morning write one honest line. Today I want this. Then write the smallest truthful move that honors it without blowing up your life. Make a call. Block a half hour. Say no to one thing that steals the same half hour. Desire is not an enemy. Desire is a compass that includes your aliveness in the calculation. Create daily micro contracts instead of grand programs. In the morning, write a single sentence. Today, I will not abandon myself by doing this one thing. In the evening, write a single sentence. Here is how I kept the vow, and here is how I will repair where I slipped. No shaming, no trophies, just steady attention. Repair means you clean up the moment you went silent or sharp. You name it, you set it right, you return to alignment. Build rituals that tell the body a new pattern is safe. A hand over the heart before a hard conversation, a glass of water after a boundary, a short walk after telling the truth. These are not superstitions. They are signals to the nervous system that honesty is followed by care. Prepare for pushback with a simple plan. Choose one person who supports truth over performance and let them know you're practicing. Agree on a short check-in after difficult moments. A message that says, I told the truth and I am shaking. Ask for warm presence rather than advice. Not everyone is ready to hear this. Community must be chosen with care, or the old economy of approval will pull you back. Use environment design so the path stays visible. Keep a small card in your pocket with 3 lines. Body first. Truth next. Repair when needed. Place one reminder on the bathroom mirror, one on your desk, one in your phone. You are building a house with lights on in every room. Clarity prevents drift. Bring the shadow into cooperation through a short weekly practice. Choose a trait you judge in yourself. Greedy, needy, angry, cold. Write one page where that part explains why it exists and what it has been trying to do for you. Do not argue. Listen. Then write one page where you set terms for working together. You can alert me when something feels off. You cannot run the whole show. I will protect us so you do not need to explode or disappear. Ownership ends the war. Use somatic exits when alarms spike. Feel your feet. Press your tongue lightly to the roof of your mouth and release. Lengthen the exhale until your ribs soften. Name 5 solid objects in the room and one sound you can hear. These moves tell the body that you are here and that you are leading. Structure hard conversations with 3 parts. First, a brief truth about your experience. When you said that, I felt dismissed. Second, a boundary or request. I will continue when we can speak without contempt. Third, a path forward. I want to find a way that works for both of us. Keep the tone even. Keep the sentences short. Power becomes presence when you do not leave yourself while you speak. Set a weekly review that centers dignity over performance. Write 3 lines. Where I kept faith with myself, where I slipped and how I will repair, where I need support. Most psychologists will not tell you how ordinary true change looks. It is not a blaze of glory. It is a set of simple moves repeated until your system trusts you. If you feel called to build community around this work, keep it specific and grounded. Share experiences rather than speeches. I set a boundary today and I am shaking. I told my partner I need an evening alone and I feel guilty. I asked for help and felt both relief and fear. Speak in concrete terms. Ask for presence, not solutions. This is how rooms form where honesty is normal and no one has to perform health. The monster becomes an ally through practice, not through a single revelation. Body first, truth next. Repair when needed. One honest move a day. One repair when you slip. One act of care that replaces an old self-punishment. Aliveness grows by these ordinary steps. In the final part, we will gather these moves into a clear vow and invite those who are ready to stand together in it. To be honest, this is where you stop guarding the door and start choosing a truthful life over a quiet performance. You have kept the monster locked up to keep rooms calm while paying with your aliveness. Now you make a different vow. One small, honest move at a time, repeated until presence replaces control and dignity returns. If you saw yourself in these words, write in the comments, "I no longer run from pain." Let's see how many are ready for the truth. If you feel it's time to meet your shadow, write, "My darkness is my strength." Let's build a community of those unafraid to look within. If you're ready to drop the mask, write, "I take off the mask." Let's see who's ready for real life. If this video changed something in you, write, "I accept my shadow." Make it your vow to yourself. This is only the beginning.